Today I'll be ranking all 20 of Class 1A's quirks. This is all personal opinion and should not be taken as canon. Starting out at number 20. By far the most simple and low tier quirk on this list. Tail is just what it sounds like, granting the user a weird fleshy tail that operates as another limb. This quirk falls under the mutant type. In specific, the tail itself is a permanent mutation, meaning it cannot be deactivated or turned off, though the quirk expression itself can be shut off, causing the tail to become limp and useless. This quirk is used by MyHeroAcademia. His usage of the quirk is a specialty in close range hand-to-hand combat, using his knowledge in martial arts to fight and utilize his tail and fend off close range opponents. He also has two known ultimate moves. Tornado Tail Dance is where Ojiro spins in midair, hitting anything and everything within a close range to his tail, and Swamp Smack Spin. Ojiro, again, spins with his tail, this time pointed horizontally stretched out, which appears to have enough force to repel anything within a close vicinity to him. This quirk is not weak by any means, but compared to the other quirks on this list, it really doesn't hold up, so it falls at the bottom at the number 20 spot. I was kind of back and forth with this entry, being as it's not as powerful as tail, but has many more utility purposes. This quirk grants the user tape-like dispenser elbows, producing a large amount of tape from said dispensers. The tape itself seems to have significant tensile strength as compared to regular tape. This quirk is used by Sero. He utilizes the tape in long-range combat, with another specialty in restraining enemies with the tape, which shows how powerful the tape really is. He can also swing and maneuver across large areas as the tape has enough strength to hold and swing himself. There is a limit to the amount of tape Sero can produce, but the supplies of it are plentiful. Sero has two ultimate moves: Barricade Tape, in which Sero covers the surroundings with tape in order to protect himself and others from enemy attacks, and Trident, in which Sero latches onto multiple objects and launches them as projectiles at enemies. Once again, this quirk is not weak. In fact, the more I read into it, the stronger it sounds. But I think this quirk has a perfect spot at number 19. I know ranking Minetta's quirk anything better than 20 is outrageous, but hear me out. Pop-Off is a mutant type quirk that grants user purple ball-like hair. These balls can be detached from the user's head. The balls have a significant stickiness to them. Being strong enough to bind and completely take someone out of the fight, they are also perfect for setting traps. The ball's effect on the user are completely different though. In fact, the user can use them almost like trampolines, bouncing from ball to avoid obstacles, as they do not stick to the user. Like I said, this quirk is perfect for restraining people, but it also, similar to tape, has a large help in saving civilians, as in dangerous situations, the balls are perfect for holding and securing hazardous objects, and even securing people to safe spots. The main downside of this quirk is that if the balls are removed too fast, the user's scalp will begin to bleed. This quirk is used by Minoru Mineta, being used almost exclusively to restrain and stop opponents. He has 5 known ultimate moves. Grape Rush, in which Mineta rushes towards the target, flinging several of these balls at them, essentially trapping them in place. Super Grape Rush is where Mineta flings a large number of these balls to trap an opponent in between objects. Vineyard. Mineta sticks a large number of these balls to ropes, creating snares for enemies. Grape Buckler, in which Mineta attaches large number of these balls to a shield, trapping whatever hits the shield in place. And Mineta Beads. Mineta creates a long whip-like object that can be used to stop opponents, stop projectiles, and even save the user from falling. This quirk may not be powerful, but by God is it useful, so that's why it falls at the number 18 spot. Once again, I'm kind of getting the utility quirks out of the way, as yes, they're useful, but not really powerful. Getting down to a pretty simple one, and once again, this quirk is a mutation quirk like the previous 3. Invisibility grants the user full invisibility, though if the user is wearing clothes, the clothes themselves will still be visible, meaning the user will have to be fully naked to become truly invisible. Not only this, but the user can refract light. This also includes laser beams, such as Aoyama's naval laser, being able to refract and bend the beam without sustaining any damage. The user can also use light to blind incoming enemies, creating sort of a flashbang attack. This quirk is used by Toru Hagakure, along with her 2 parents. One downside of this quirk is that the quirk itself is, again, a permanent mutation, meaning it cannot be shut off, so the user is permanently invisible. Hagakure has 2 known ultimate moves. Warp Refraction allows the user to be able to basically flashbang and blind opponents, and Warp Refraction Naval Laser. As described earlier, the user in combination with the quirk Naval Laser manipulates the laser itself to blind and damage everything around. This quirk goes much deeper than it first presents itself, and that's why it falls at the number 17 spot. Confusingly, this quirk is also a mutant type quirk, even though it has emitter type attributes. This quirk allows the user to be able to communicate and command animals via speech, along with having a rock-like head. The original unawakened version of this quirk was limited to the range of the user's voice, needing to audibly communicate with the animals within the user's range. But the awakened version of this quirk gives the user horn-like growths on their head, as well as granting them telepathic communication with animals. This quirk has a lot of versatility, as the animal kingdom has a large variety of abilities. This quirk is used by Koji Koda, as well as his mother. Koda has 2 known ultimate moves. Hitchcock Birds is where Koda swarms the enemy with a multitude of birds, blinding and distracting the opponents, and Bugging Out, in which the user summons a swarm of bugs to overwhelm their opponent. This quirk has a significant amount of potential, especially due to the poisonous nature of certain insect species, and that's the main reason Anavoice falls at the number 16 spot. Once again, another mutant type quirk. This quirk grants the user frog-like attributes, meaning the user has enhanced agility, reflexes, wall sticking, camouflage, fast swimming, mucus with different effects, and a super long and powerful tongue. Frog has a significant advantage in aquatic environments due to the user's physiology. This quirk has an all-around use, as the user can save civilians because of the maneuverability and strength of this quirk, but the user can also use their quirk for sneak attacks, as the user's powerful legs and tongue have superhuman-like strength, but as mentioned earlier, the user can camouflage themselves, blending into their environment to a certain extent, perfect for sneaking up on enemies. Going deeper into the quirk's mucus abilities, the mucus of this quirk has differing effects like paralysis of opponents and scent disrupting. One downside of this quirk is that along with having the physiology of a frog means they are susceptible to cold temperatures. With prolonged exposure to these temperatures, the user will fall into a hibernation-like state until they are warmed up. This quirk is used by Tsuyu Asui. She also has two known ultimate moves. Camouflage. This move changes the user's body colors, including their clothes, to match their surroundings. And Meteor Fafrit Skies. In combination with the quirk Gravity, the user uses their extended tongue to slap floating objects out of the air at enemies. This quirk is a great example of an all-around power set, and that's the reason it sits at the number 15 spot. Finally, an emitter type quirk. Sugar Rush grants a user 5 times their original strength for 3 minutes if they consume sugar. This limit increases for every 10 grams of sugar the user consumes. This sugar can come from almost anything, including foods, drinks, and even raw sugar. This quirk has 2 major downsides. The most obvious one comes from the fact that the user must have sugar on them at all times for their quirk to activate. And the second one comes from the fact that when the user converts sugar into strength, they will also suffer from hypoglycemia, which will lower the user's cognitive functions. Simply put, the more strength you have, the dumber you get. But in exchange, you gain enough strength to even break metal bars. This quirk is used by Rikido Sato. He also possesses only one known ultimate move, Sugar Rush. Going by the same name as the quirk, Sato consumes sugar, increasing his power significantly. In the process, he unleashes a flurry of punches at a target. I mainly put this one here as well as the only one that enhances someone's power significantly. That being said, I think the number 14 is a perfect spot for Sugar Rush. And back to the mutant types. This quirk permanently morphs the user's body to have arm-like tentacles, coming with a total of 6 distinct tentacles. These tentacles come with the ability of creating duplicates of the user's body, including other limbs, mouths, ears, and eyes. These duplicates are also enhanced versions of the originals, meaning they have better sensory abilities to the point of being able to see or hear an invisible Hagakure, as well as enhancing the user's strength if they wish to reproduce something like an arm. Depending on how big or how many the user reproduces, their enhanced version of this limb will be significantly more powerful than the original, along with the added strength of how many other copies the user makes. It's not a big deal if the user's tentacles get damaged in combat though, as the user can just regrow them. The user can also make multiple replications of the tentacles themselves, meaning they can stretch and even duplicate more limbs on already duplicated limbs. This quirk is used by Mezzo Shoji, specializing in stealth missions but also not being afraid to take on someone in a hand-to-hand combat. Shoji also possesses 3 ultimate moves. Octoblow is when Shoji creates several arm duplicates on either side and unleashes a barrage of attacks with said arms. Octospansion. This move consists of Shoji creating a giant super enhanced fist and punching the opponent with it. And Octosearcher. Shoji creates a large number of ears and eyes all at once, enhancing his sensory skills to their max. The more I read about this quirk, the more it makes me kinda want it, as it has a huge variation in powers and power, so I think number 13 fits it perfectly.